That. Let's just put you down here. How's everybody doing? We're live.
We live.
I hate when I lose my mouse, man. That's the worst. Welcome to the final stream of 2023, or the summer of 2023. We will be back in September.
Yes.
Small
indeed.
Town USA is watching. Is that a threat? I don't know, man. I've heard some things. How's it going, Dale? Beresford, yeah, arrived here today after a busy week. Master's graduation ceremony. Beresford Productions is in France. I'm going to be over in that end of town. Everybody's got interesting vacay plans this summer. Yeah, you know what? Several of my friends, in fact, one of my buddy that I work with is going to the same place as me, and we're actually meeting up in London for my birthday. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And we booked separately too. Like we completely booked separately, but we're coming back on the same day at the same time, just different flights. It's kind of cool, actually. But yeah, kind of a fun little way to spend August. How's Dylan doing?
How am I doing? I'm doing all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Getting ready for a little time off myself.
Yeah. What? How long are you taking time off from your regular job?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. How long you got?
Like 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, first 2 weeks of August. Gonna be going to London for a week, like London, Ontario, the lesser London, as I call it.
The lesser London.
The lesser London for a week, and then just spending a week in Ottawa South, just chillaxing at my folks' place.
Oh, that's nice. So that's cool, man. At least you can also take a little bit of time off from everything, not just job, but also this too.
Yeah, you gotta unplug. You gotta unplug every once in a while. Like at least a couple weeks a year, just take some time, do nothing.
Yeah,
like not even time off to work on your side hustle, not time off to but just to do nothing, to relax.
Yeah,
right.
I'll agree. I think it's been 3 years since I've had time off from anything.
Yeah.
I've always got something going on, so this is going to be a lot of fun for me and just a lot of relaxation. Because goddamn, I need something, man. I find myself it's such lackluster, kind of like getting stuff done. I'm just like, ugh. And I know it's just total burnout, right? It's just needing that extra little bit of time. Jan, my 4 weeks vacation is ending this week. Back to work on Monday.
Oh, damn.
4 weeks vacation. That's pretty sweet, man.
That's pretty sweet, though. Yeah.
Me taking a full month off has kind of been the approach of that, because my wife gets months off too. She gets 3 months a year as a midwife. So but she goes hardcore for the rest of the time, like working 48 hours straight and stuff like that. So August she's off, and then our next vacation's planned for next December. It's going to be Spain and Morocco. So I think I'll take my next month off next December, so I don't have to. I'll just work straight through. I can do it. Hey, so this being the last stream of the year, or the summer, I keep saying year.
Don't do that.
Last stream of the year, I did have a fun little story, and I posted about this on the YouTube channel. You know, the one you're watching right now?
Yeah. Post one.
I think I posted on Discord too. So I had a little interesting experience at a concert. You've heard of JJ Wild, right, Dylan?
Yeah.
Yep. So my child, Lily, is gaga for JJ Wild. Absolutely loves her. Has been talking about me trying to get to let Lily meet JJ Wild. In fact, Lily's been asking me to get a job at a radio station so I could somehow meet JJ Wild. This is all they want to. They just, please, I want to meet JJ Wild. And I'm like, kid, I'm sorry, man. I'm not getting back into radio. Sorry. It's like, we can do a meet and greet. We'll pay for that. So we go to Hope Volleyball Summer, the summer festival they have, and they had a few bands playing, JJ Wild being one of them. We watched him play. Lily was up front there, literally front and center for the whole concert. They stood there for like 4.5 hours in the sun. It was awesome. And the concert's over. We're getting ready to go. And I look at my buddy and I'm like, hey, man, you want to go check out the merch booth? We'll just go check it out. And he's like, yeah, okay. So we walk over there. And I got 2 words out of my mouth. And the guy behind the merch booth goes, wait a minute. do you do YouTube videos about microphones? And I'm like, yeah, which is always awkward. Anytime somebody like kind of drops that on you in the middle, you don't expect it. It's not like it's out of nowhere. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, dude, I love your videos. I go down microphone rabbit holes all the time, and it's your videos I end up watching. And I go, that's really cool. And I'm looking around. I'm like, well, you guys don't have any JJ merch. Kid, do you have anything in the back? And he's like, you know what? 1 second. Guy runs off, comes back about 10 minutes later. He's like, just wait here. And an event organizer came around, grabbed us, and dragged us around backstage and introduced us to JJ Wild. So it was this one of these like weird like worlds kind of colliding where I'm like, I didn't realize YouTube ever. And it's not like it wasn't like getting backstage to see Metallica. No offense to JJ Wild, but it's probably easier to get backstage to see JJ Wild than it is to a bigger band like that. But it was still really cool to see something like that just kind of pop out of nowhere. And it was, it was kind of one of those moments where it's like, yeah, that's why you do stuff like this, right? Is to get backstage to see these acts. Anyways, yeah, really cool experience. Kid got their hat signed and all that stuff. So, by the way, if you do ever see me out and about, and I mean this to everyone, I'm gonna be awkward as fuck. Like it's awkward. I've been tracked down in a Canadian Tire. Which if you're not Canadian, it's kind of like a automotive store that we have here in Canada. I've been tracked down just in downtown Ottawa where I live. And people are usually like running after me, Aiden. This time where the guy sees me at the concert, and I have a feeling something's going to happen in Europe. But if you ever do approach me, don't feel like I don't want to be approached. It's just weird for me. That's all. I'm not saying this out of any like, don't approach me or anything. No, that's fine. If you just want to meet, you want to shake hands, if you want to chat, I'm all for it. Just don't be surprised if I'm a little like taken back, because it's weird. So, have you had anything yet, Dylan? Have these live streams led to any of your like wild like out on the town people noticing you?
Not the live streams, but I've definitely had random people tell me that they've heard my voice. That's always odd. Like someone, which is the weirdest thing, because like I don't know, I don't actually know. I was gonna say I'm not loud in voice. Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am when I'm out in public with people, but like not like voiceover mode, right? Like not, hey, how are you doing? Right? Like nobody's talking like that.
No.
Not that I do voiceovers like that.
You do some hard sells. Come on, it's okay.
Yeah, I do some obnoxious hard sell stuff. That's true. But I've had people like at the grocery store. I was at Independent, which is Canadian grocery store, and somebody came up to me like at the cash, like not an employee, but just someone else that was in the cash. They're like, "Are you on the radio?" And I'm like, "Well, no. I mean, not really.
Not at this moment."
Yeah, exactly. Not at this moment. I mean, I'm not like an on-air person. They're like, but I feel like I hear your voice all the time. Like it doesn't matter what station I listen to, I hear you. I'm like, oh well, yeah, because I do. You voice a spot, and then it gets shared around by every company.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've totally at some point been on probably most stations in the city.
That's it. Gotta love that kind of stuff. Sneed, how's it going, buddy? Dan, you YouTube celebrity, yeah, and it's weird because it's nothing like it's a very separate and isolating life doing YouTube. It's extremely isolating. And I've seen other YouTubers do videos about this and how it's the loneliest job. And you're like, oh, come on. But then you're like sitting in a basement talking to a camera with no one else around. There's no like, I'm not doing this outside. I'm not vlogging. I'm not doing that kind of stuff. I'm sitting in my basement talking to a camera for my job. It's very isolating. So, and you don't realize the impact you have on possibly people knowing you outside of this room. So it is kind of like no celebrity status. I kid about that kind of stuff. It was really, really awesome to be able to like meet somebody that my kid really wanted to meet. But it is also the shocking part of it is when you have that like complete separation of your job and your life, and then all of a sudden the two just smush together. It's weird. And because I don't leave this room very often, I think that's part of it. So
Oh, yeah, I think a lot of people coming out of COVID have kind of had that just because we're all squirreled away in our houses. So like everyone for a brief moment had kind of YouTube creator syndrome.
It's brutal, man. Like there's some of the things like this week. I got the here, let me show it off here. The Boss Gigcaster 5.
You bastard.
This probably might end up on your desk, dude. Don't worry about it. Yeah. The Boss Gigcaster 5. Awesome. By the way, if you saw my short, I actually did a short about whether or not it sounds the Blues Driver digital version and this version sound the same. And they actually do. It's actually really, really close. And I could have played with it a bit and really keyed in the results to get them sounding exactly alike. It's a really cool interface, but there's so much to go through for this. I'm trying really hard to get a review out for it before I leave, but there's a chance that review's not coming out till September, which is going to suck. But at the same time, you know, I'm going to try this week. It all depends on how my podcast editing goes. We'll see if that overtakes my life. Nothing's getting done between now and when I leave, but I'll see what I can do. Dale, I do local stuff and community information. I always get shocked when I get, hey, I know you. Yeah, it's weird, right? And the irony, and I was talking to this about the guy in the booth, Tristan, I think his name was. I've gone on tour with a band. I've opened for some pretty big names. I've done a lot. I've been on the radio. I had a morning show in Ottawa, like in the city I'm in. I did a morning show and we had a decent following. And people don't recognize me for any of that. Nobody's like, hey, buddy, I remember your band opened up for so-and-so. Or, dude, you're the morning show. I love your morning show. No. They're like, hey, man, that YouTube channel where you talk about microphones, it blows my mind. Like, and I don't even advertise my YouTube channel in Ottawa. So it's kind of weird to see in Ottawa people like finding that's the one thing they know me from. So, yeah, it's weird.
Especially because, as you said, too, it's niche content.
It's super niche.
There's nothing mainstream about the stuff that you're putting out. So to expect just in the general public, the odds of you coming across someone who happens to be like an audio guy or someone interested in audio stuff, specifically microphones, that's like, probably 1 in 1,000 people.
Yeah. Well, and it's
Um,
interesting at the concert. I was thinking about this. I'm like, there's a good chance one of the roadies has seen one of my videos. Like, there's a good
or like
chance.
the front of house engineer or any of those guys.
Somebody that works in music has seen a video about a microphone they're looking for that I've reviewed. And that was kind of the like, okay, so if I'm at a concert, there's a good chance that there's someone in there that might have seen me before. So the anonymity slowly slips away, but I don't think there's any concern of that happening over the next few years. So we're okay. My anonymity, I think, is going to stay intact. And by the way, again, this is all quite a joke for me. It's not anything I take seriously. I'm having fun with it, no doubt. Lost in Boca. Hey, look at these celebrities here on the YouTubes. Yeah. It's, you know what? It's just really, really cool and a lot of fun. I think I was more impressed. The picture I got with Tristan that I posted on YouTube and all that, I actually went back to him because it just made my kids like year. Like it was like one of those like random things of, hey, do you want to meet JJ Wild? I was just so happy to see my kid getting to meet their like musical hero. And when I say musical hero, I'm like, the music has been played ad nauseum in this house, in the car. I know JJ Wild's music better than JJ Wild probably knows it. I'm just saying, I've literally heard the music so much. So it was really kind of cool to see something like that. And like the fact that what we've been doing here over the past 3 years is something that kind of allowed that to happen was just a little extra cool. It was just a little cherry on top. Anyways, it was a lot of fun. How's you looking for September, Dylan? Now we have, I believe, coming out this weekend or this Monday. Let me just confirm before I start shoving my foot in my mouth. July 24th. Yeah, so this Monday, we've got the studio video we did together, getting the mic set up on the drums.
Nice.
And I'm looking at getting back to the studio for some of that. And I think we're going to be doing a little bit more stuff like that in the near future. But I also have, if you're going to be around late August, I have a song I want to work on. And I was kind of hoping you might be willing to play around with that.
Yeah. You know it.
Cool. So that's making plans with everybody here watching. I think it'll be kind of fun going into September with a little bit more. Some of the stuff we have coming up on the channel is a little more music based, and I think the full switch before Christmas, getting all that in, getting that kind of working towards the more of a musical end should be a little bit of fun. So if you're in on it, Dylan, that should be fun.
You man. You should send me the video that's coming out on Monday. I'm itching to see it. I'm curious how it came out.
I don't know how to send private videos.
Oh, yeah, you'd probably have to like upload it to Drive separately or something.
No, so I can do that. So if
actually no, if you live videos, if you
let me
share it with my Google account, and then if I log in, then I'll be able to follow
I think
the link.
I've got to text me your See, I just sent you a link. Try clicking on that. See if you can watch that.
Okay.
Yeah, I sent you in Discord.
It's gonna say, yeah, video unavailable. This video is private.
Okay, so I think you. Yeah, you gotta go into the actual video. See, I'm not good at this stuff. I don't even know how to share it, man.
Guy's got 19,000 YouTube followers and can't figure out how to share a video.
I've never done this. See, and whenever when you start a YouTube channel and you're doing this and companies send you crap, all of them were like, hey, can we see the video beforehand? And it's always been my excuse, I don't really know how to share a private video because I'm not letting you see the video before I put it out. I'm sorry. There's zero chance unless you're paying me tons of money and there's like big signage behind me that says this is a paid video. There's no chance in hell you're going to be able to see the video.
Yeah, because you don't have a say in it regardless, because that's not what we've agreed to.
Exactly.
So like, you can see it with everybody else.
See, I would have to Google how to share a privated video. I have no idea. I'm not even going to bother with that right now. I'm sure this is riveting freaking content for people to.
Yeah, right.
You can do an unlisted. Yeah, you can share an unlisted vid. The only problem is with an unlisted video, people can watch it if it's on. There are certain ways to circumnavigate to find unlisted videos. So when you put a video scheduled, there's a reason it goes private. It's so nobody can see it. I have had a few occasions where I unlisted a video and all of a sudden people are watching it. And I'm not exactly sure how. I know the one way you can do is through when it's unlisted, it will still be on playlists. And I think that's one of the ways you can circumnavigate it. I don't know. I am not savvy in regards, as you can tell, I don't even know how to share a bloody privated YouTube video. But yeah, I'll just send you the actual raw video, man. I'm sure that'll be much easier for you, won't it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. But yeah, we've got I've got a lot of stuff to shoot coming back. So like, I've got all that Lawton, all those mics that Lawton sent me. I still haven't even posted. I've just done the 220 review. I've got the 208. I've got the 308. I've got the 120s. So
they're done though. You're just waiting to put them out.
The 208's done. It's on its way for August. The 120's not done, and the 308's at your house. So, you know.
Oh, so you haven't even shot anything with the 308 yet?
No.
Okay, so you're gonna need that back at some point.
I wanted to get the video for the setup of the drums done before I did the reviews on them. So there's some sort of you can kind of point back to something, and I don't know if I did that backwards, but now we have experience using this microphone, right? And that's part and parcel the issue.
Yeah, and I think in retrospect, God, I wish we'd had a better way to be able to like listen to these mics. Fuck, trying to do that shit on the H8 was a pain in the ass.
I think the goal next time will be to go through their board. I think the next time we do anything like that, I do have the one video where the H8 is going to be necessary, but I think we can have a little bit more. We can go into it beforehand by learning how to like really kind of niche down and listen to those things separately. It's hard because you're in the same room as the drum. hearing it when you're in the same room as the drum is kind of ridiculous. So maybe a
Yeah. Now I have to
30-foot
say
cable.
those Vic Firth headphones they had though, those were pretty good.
Yeah.
As far as like isolating headphones, wow. I mean, they're made by a drum company. What do you expect?
Yeah.
But like, it's so in retrospect, if listening to the kick mic, it needs to be a kick in mic. That's
Yeah.
clearly now hearing it and getting a chance to fuck around with it a little bit more. Just here, it's that's definitely like it's meant for impact.
Well, and that's
so
that's why I think I'm going to be leaving that one until after we do our next studio session, so we can actually get a full breadth of what we're doing. We'll go through
Yeah.
the board with it. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, right? Plug into their patch bay.
Well,
you're-
even that we can like if you want to do like in our next session at the studio, I'm sure it'll be a different video. But if you want to throw in the 308 video there, you could just get some footage of throw it outside the kick drum. Here's what it sounds like. Throw it inside, and then you can add that to your 308 video. Just as supplemental footage, being like, okay, here's it being used properly.
Dan has a one-handed Vic Firth salt grinder. It's great.
Nice.
That one you do not want to use on a kick drum. I know that for sure. I'm a mic expert. So it's no, that'll be an interesting one. And we didn't really, that's the shitty thing about renting studio time is you just don't have time to really fuck around to the level that you want to. Like, you don't have time to like, okay, let's take 30 shots of this and let's just see let's really work on where we want that microphone. And like you're talking about miking the shell of the snare, and we don't have time to do that kind of stuff, right?
Well, that's why, like, back in the day, like studios used to have like a studio rate that usually ended up being like, $250 or something just for the day, for the
Yeah.
whole day. Just, 9 to 5 or 10 to 4, whatever range there. And you end up getting a deal on it. And I wonder if you talk to your guy there now, especially now that we've been there, he's sort of getting a chance to watch us operate. He knows how we are.
Especially on a day where there was clearly no one else renting the place. Like, we were there
there's-
early
There's
on.
another guy mixing in the studio
Yeah.
next door, but obviously there's nothing else going on.
There was
Like, it pretty quiet.
clearly nobody else renting the studio out. And
On
like,
a Saturday too, which is weird.
yeah, but that you'd think that would be their busy time, right?
Yeah.
It cost me $250 for that studio that day, which is like, yeah, I know, right? Well, we were there 4 hours, and
Yeah.
it's $45 an hour plus tax.
Plus tax. Yeah.
It's $250, and that's fine. I don't mind spending the money, but it's also like it was only 4 hours, and
Okay, so I was gonna say he did ding you for that last hour.
yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, it's still, you're still renting the room, right? Like, we're not friends, so
Yeah, that's fair. No, I was curious though. I was like, oh, I don't know.
but this just makes me want to put a real good drum set in my space, or in a space that we can fuck around in. Like,
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, maybe we do something like that. And I'm looking at the jazz kit I've got. The kick drum is like half, or it's about 3/4 the size of a normal regular size kick drum, because it's a little jazz kit. It's meant to be super small and super tight. I don't know if that's going to give me the results that we're looking for. So maybe I've got to actually go out and buy a proper kit. I don't know.
I mean, my buddy has my kit. I have a Pearl 5-piece kit.
Okay.
And he's got that. He just moved into a place by himself in Cardinal, and he's got my kit. So if he has a room that he's going to set it up in, I'll be like, okay, well, I'll bring some treatment material and stuff and help him set up the room. In exchange, he lets us shoot videos there.
Oh,
That might be something I would pitch.
where does he live? Well, not
Cardinal.
address. Where's Cardinal again?
Cardinal is like halfway between here and Brockville.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, so it's like an hour out kind of thing.
Andrew C says, you don't want to give freebies or you devalue the perceived worth. 100% agree. 100% agree. However, this was a caveat that we had with the studio, and I mean, there's only 13 people here, so here was the issue with the studio.
Spilling the tea.
Well,
Spilling
yeah,
the tea.
so they rented the space out to us. Now the cost of a studio is $90 an hour with an engineer. So with somebody that is recording you, somebody behind the board and all that. We didn't need that because we had Dylan. and he messaged me. I'd already told him, now well, I've got an engineer. We're good. Dylan and I know what we're doing. And he messages me. He's like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, yeah, but you told me it's only $45 an hour if I don't have an engineer. Yeah, but we don't really like to do that. I'm like, why would you tell me it's $45 an hour if...
Yeah, well, then don't advertise that service, dickhead. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And then because he was asking me, are you bringing your own board? I'm like, cool. Yeah, I guess so. He's like, yeah, because, our board's really complex.
Who
And I'm like,
does that, though? Who goes to a studio? Oh, yeah, and the board, and then there was the other thing, too, that you mentioned.
oh, yeah. So the other thing is, he's like, are you bringing your own mics? I'm like, yeah, we'll have our own mics, and I might just dig around in yours and grab a couple if necessary. He's like, yeah, we don't like you digging around in our mics. And I'm like, but you're a studio. He's like, yeah, but you're not getting an engineer. And I'm like, but it's $45 an hour with no engineer. Like, that's just, you tell me that, and then you turn around and say, but you're not getting an engineer. So I don't know. Should we? It was just maddening. Like, the whole thing was maddening. And so there was a little bit of an irritation on my end already, because once we got in there, I guess he realized we weren't complete, utter morons. So he left us completely alone in the studio. The whole mic cabinet completely unlocked. Like, we could have...
Yeah.
Like, what... I guess maybe he's just like, I don't know who we're renting to, but then just have somebody on site, man. Like, you don't have to give us the keys to the place. We're not asking for
Well,
that.
I think that's like there was that other guy there mixing, so I think he was obviously an established regular. So I guess the guy was probably figuring, oh, he'll they're not completely alone in there, so that's good.
Yeah. It's funny, Dank Pods just finished his drum museum. He's going on break from YouTube after this week, too. I don't know who Dank Pods is. I feel like I should know. It's a great name for a friggin' YouTube channel. Dylan dropped his perceived worth then. Yeah.
What did I do?
It's because we're not in the recording industry in Ottawa. See, studios are quirky. They're usually owned by quirky people.
And it's about relationships. Honestly,
Yes.
like even in the past, when I was in the recording space more, just full time basically, like I had relationships with studios. So like they knew me, they had no problem just leaving the keys to the kingdom. I had like codes to their alarm system and keys to get in their doors at any time of the day. Because there was that trust, right? And so it's hard when you're in the process of building up that trust with somebody new because you have to go through like an initiation period.
Yeah, and it's there's no hard feelings. It was actually more of a quirky, like, we'll rent the studio to you for $45 an hour without an engineer. However, we don't really want to do that. That was kind of more the quirk behind it. And it was like, okay, well, if you're worried about theft, make sure there's somebody on site. I mean, you're renting it to us on a Saturday because he refused to give us a Friday spot, which there is definitely going to be somebody there for Friday. So it was just this one really weird, we need to get to know each other before we trust each other, but I'm also going to let you rent in the space. So we ended up just not even patching into the board. We just used our own interface for this, and it was weird. And then nobody around, so I'm like, hey man, I'm just gonna take this for an extra hour. I texted him while he was out getting groceries, and he's like, yeah, no problem. And did I expect to have the extra hour for free? God, no. I knew I was willing to pay for it. But it's also one of those things where you're like, so we didn't even patch into the board. We just literally existed and mic'd up a drum kit.
Room and the drum kit. That was it.
Room and drum kit. So kind of was like, that's a lot of money for just basically a 1970s porn backdrop. That's,
yeah.
it's essentially what it was.
And we used the piano for a bit, the out of tune piano.
We used the perception of the piano.
This is true. Yeah,
we used the piano as a backdrop.
that nice Steinway honky tonk. Love it.
Oh, it was great. For reference, Dylan, I don't know, have you ever gotten around to that, or is that kind of a future you will eventually?
I've like lined up all the footage and stuff now. I just got to comp it together and I'm done.
Gonna make a wild guess. The perfectionist in you isn't willing to run with the non-hat footage.
Whatever. I mean, the video is such a not focal point anyway. It's
Fair.
there as like a
The
some
song
kind of
is
visual.
song is kicking, man.
It's there as some kind of visual accompaniment because you cannot make a hit without visual accompaniment in this
No.
day and age.
No, it's true.
And so that's just the business of it. So yeah, that's really all it's there for is visual accompaniment.
Story a bit like buying a discount airline ticket. Oh, you mean you want the plane filled with fuel and a pilot? Pay up, please. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of one of those like I understand there's some like I would have a hard time renting my studio to somebody I've never met before. However, we also went to the studio and toured with him. Like I made sure because I knew the concept of us renting the studio out without an engineer might be a little awkward. So I made sure Dylan and I went and we actually met the guy. We did a walkthrough. We had no issues whatsoever. And like, it didn't seem like there was going to be much of an issue. So it's one of those like, yeah, it was awkward. Let's just say that. Dan, were there tax on the piano hammers? No tax.
No, I have heard. Oh God, I understand why people do it, but just for me, just the attack is just it's like harpsichord.
Yeah. The worst part about the piano is Dylan was playing for a music video, and the pianos, there's certain keys that are at least half out. Like I would say half a note out, if
Well,
not
and the
more.
hard thing about pianos is, for those that don't know, in the lower strings of the piano, there's one string.
Yeah.
But as you work your way up the sort of the ranks of the inside of the piano, you get to like there's 2 strings for
Yeah.
many notes, there's 3 strings, and then up in the top end there's like 4 strings, and so all of those strings have to be exactly the same pitch. And as somebody like I have tuned pianos, so I know the pain and suffering of this, of how you have to have a perfectly calibrated hammer because you got to be able to feel every micro movement of an inch in that bolt. And but so yeah, if you have an A and you got 4 different versions of A because they're all at different pitches. It just sounds like like a really aggressive chorus pedal on that one note.
It wasn't just that one. Everything was just a little off on the piano.
Little out.
And
Yeah,
Dylan
well,
was
especially in the recording, it was used on a Yamaha C3, which had been tuned right before that was recorded. So you got
yeah, and Dylan was playing along with the music for the video, and you could hear like these awful, god awful notes coming out. And no, he was playing it right. He was just hitting the notes that were nowhere near to being in tune. It was actually rather entertaining. So,
now, I mean, they do have an on-call tuner who, if you pay, and if you let them know in advance that you're going to be using the piano, they'll bring the tuner in to tune it up. And part of me is like, well, I got a card somewhere. I could probably tune it. And I'm like, I know what? No, because I'm doing it for free. That is a pain in the ass, especially to do it on not my piano.
Oh, and then if something breaks, you're fucked. Like you are fucked. So why bother?
I got parts. I got extra parts in my little kit bag.
But it's just going to cause a problem, right? It's like,
oh yeah, I'd rather not.
No, and I'd rather not. Like, cause there's a lot I would love to do around piano. Like I wanted to do miking a piano. That's kind of cool. But I don't know if I'm going to pay for a piano to be tuned. I'll wait for someone else to pay for it to be tuned.
Get them to like email you, like put you on the email list the next time somebody comes in and tunes the piano.
Yeah, just let me know when. But I mean, it doesn't look like a lot of people are lining up. It's a gorgeous. It's like an 1885 baby grand.
And again, so the stupidity of that for me is like, okay, part of that $45 fee, or let's say it's a normal person coming in off the street, $90.
Yeah.
$90 an hour. I expect to come into a studio where all instruments are in condition to be used.
Well, and this is the thing. So this is one of the things that I actually got into a fight with an engineer once because if you're going into a studio, the drums should be set up, the drums should be mic'd. You should not be
assuming that you've informed them that you need these things, right? Like So in this case, we told him we were going to use the drums. So he's like,
Yep.
okay, well, there, he left the kit set up from a thing the day before.
Yeah.
Because yeah, if you go into a studio and you don't tell them what you need and the piano's out of tune, it's like, well, they're not going to tune the piano before every session.
No.
So if you haven't effectively communicated that these are the things you're going to be using, and hey, if you're going to use everything, that's fine. Make sure they know that.
Yeah, but for them to charge you for the tuning of the piano seems weird.
That's what I take issue with.
'Cause
It's like, no, that's why I pay you $45 for the space,
like
to accommodate that shit.
Yeah, and when you go into a studio, you might want, like, you've got a couple songs that have piano pieces in them, and that's why you rent a studio with the piano. Not like the piano isn't extra. It's not an extra
it's
service.
part of the space. It's part of that $45 fee.
So it is weird. Like there was a lot of quirkiness with that. I'm gonna check around a few other studios that don't look like porn.
I got some old contacts in the West End that have a space that I'm sure we would have a much more relaxed time.
Like happy to pay. That's the point of it, right? It's not like a not happy to pay. I'm more than happy to support businesses because we are using your space that you could otherwise.
Oh, dude, I can get us into a space with an SSL console, and I can get us in there for $18 an hour.
Oh man, that's oof.
And like a drum room with ribbon mics and all kinds of Neumann mics and you name it.
Nice.
Full setup. I gotta figure out who's over there, but I used to do a ton of business with those guys.
Do some mic comparisons while we're in there.
Yeah, I used to do a 10-hour session for $200.
Damn, nice.
Yeah, like a full day.
Shit, dude, we should actually record there.
Yeah, and well, that's different too, because the whole trust thing, we don't even need to deal with that because I already have a relationship with those.
Yeah,
people.
that would be like again, it's not even a matter of money. It's more of a matter of like not making it awkward, dude. Right?
Yeah, just not having it weird and just having that kind of that rapport and that relationship with the people that own the place.
Yeah. At least in Australia, a piano tuner signs and dates under the hugest note when it was last tuned. Yeah, I believe they do that here as well. You have a little card on the back where they sign and the date on it. And some of those older pianos, you'll see like dating going all the way back to like they weren't using a ballpoint pen to sign it. It's actually pretty cool.
And that's neat.
There's a YouTube channel about filling pianos with tool hammers or water and then inviting people to play it.
Yeah. I watched that guy's videos. That guy does some funny shit.
That's a reaction video channel, yeah. Dan, I'm a pianist and does not own a real piano. It's just too much trouble for me. It's not just an instrument. It's a very complex wooden machine. Yeah,
one of the reasons. Like I've got a Korg PA588, which feels amazing. It feels like it has the same response as a piano, but it comes without the hassle of having to maintain a piano.
I had an upright. It was like a 130-year-old upright when we lived in Wakefield.
I was gonna say I wouldn't mind having like a nice upright, like a grand quality, but in an upright format, because I don't have the space to have an entire room dedicated to a piano.
If you know what you're looking for, like in a piano, there are some really beautiful antique pianos that people will give to you. If you're willing to take it out of their house, they will give you an antique piano for free.
Dude, the Yamaha C3 that my buddy got, and for those who don't know, Yamaha, I know as a brand, they have kind of varying, they make good pianos. Yamaha pianos are good. Now, keyboards are another story, but their actual pianos are good. And this thing was amazingly in tune. This is like a $20,000 piano. And he got it for $75, but he had to hire guys to move it.
Yeah, but who cares?
And that was cheap. That was like $500 to move it from somewhere around Toronto to Ottawa, like actual piano movers, which is pretty good.
It's basically dudes who know how to move it without like knocking anything free. And that is a problem with some of the antique pianos. We had a Leighton piano, which, fun story, if you're into Canadian politics, Jack Leighton, who passed away about 10 years ago, his family used to make pianos way back at the turn of the 18th into the 19th century. And I owned one of those pianos. I got it from a dude for free in Quebec. It was absolutely mind-blowing. Would definitely recommend just check around, especially in like kind of the outside of the city areas, there's a lot of people who have old pianos from way back in the day that they have no interest. It's just piling shit on it, and they will literally hand it over to you for free. If I had the room here, I would totally get one. I would absolutely love to have a piano here.
Yeah, and realistically, even if it's a piano that needs to be that needs some work done on it, like there's some good techs in the area, at least where we are, that if there's some keys that just don't have the aftertouch that you're looking for, don't have the response that you're looking for, you can get guys that will restore these and that
Yeah.
will do some restorative maintenance.
Well, you need to know what you're looking for on the soundboard. Apparently, the soundboard is the big thing. If there's anything off on that, you're fucked.
Yeah, I look, I'll listen for like rattling. I'll listen for just overall like just the notes being too like low, mid-range, heavy.
Yeah.
Which usually indicates like maybe some an issue with the wood.
Weird resonance, yeah.
Yeah, weird resonances, that kind of stuff. Just a general. Well, it's I don't know. It's kind of like a guitar, right? I mean, I've picked up like resonator guitars before and been close to pulling the trigger on one, but I was like, there's a buzz.
Yeah.
No, I don't like it. There's a buzz. And then I'll go to them, and they'll fix it. And I'm such an asshole. They fixed it. They gave it to their luthier, and he fixed it. And then they called me back, and I didn't like it anymore. And so I didn't buy it. So they fixed it for nothing. But I mean, at some point,
I'm sure
someone
they
you would
sold
hope
it.
is going to buy it
Yeah.
and would probably appreciate there not
As
being
well,
a buzz
they
in it.
should fix it if they're selling it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it probably should have been a thing anyway. But
SR375 says, yep, that's what I have. If you have a Leighton, that's awesome. Those are apparently, they're not super rare, but they have a great lineage to them. And Andrew says, I got a regular dumper of pianos at my transfer station. Basically, at some point, a piano is no longer worth tuning or won't. I always charge
that's shitty.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you know what? I mean, it's there's a lot of things that come into play there. If they don't have a stable base, they can warp over time. And if they warp over time, the soundboard will also warp, which you can't do anything once the soundboard's warped. There are a lot of little like quirks about upright pianos. I wouldn't mind just buying one. I don't know what an upright piano goes for nowadays. Like, I'm sure even a cheap one's better than shit. No? Not, and when I say cheap, I mean like a middle.
I mean, it's like anything else, right? It's like a cheap guitar. What is a cheap guitar? You got to play it. You got to play it. That's what it boils down to.
Well, but I'm not talking about cheap either. I'm not talking about like getting a $20. I'm talking like a $5,000 upright piano. I'm sure isn't worth. And they actually have some used stuff here for like $5,000. Used Heinz.
I was gonna say you can get a used Yamaha U1 upright piano, which is gorgeous. You can get that for $5,000. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be worth actually. I always make the piano disposer pay me using notes. Nice. That's good. I don't know if you meant that, but that's fantastic, Andrew. That's good. By the way, I do have to say this. We got to go in 15 minutes for a very specific reason. Dan, do you guys remember a company that made transducers that attached to your piano soundboard to make them speakers? I heard of them way back when I remember hearing about that. That was... Wasn't it?
I got one of those. I got one of those little things. I mean, it's sort of designed for any surface, but it has a special setting for like instrument soundboards that will just like kind of crank the output.
Yeah.
They're kind of neat.
Are they worth it though? Like outside of like a piano?
No, they're useless. I mean, at the end of the day, like this sound, the fidelity is trash. It's neat.
Okay.
It's a neat trick. And there's a novelty to it, but as far as like, is it actually like, are you going to make money off of what it allows you to do? No, I don't think so.
Okay, so a piano is not a quiet instrument.
I mean, you could do well. Actually, in the grand scheme of things, pianos are quite quiet. In fact, that's kind of what the word means. Piano is quiet. Like when you're talking about musical dynamics, there's forte, there's piano, loud and quiet.
Yeah, but I mean. They're louder than an acoustic guitar.
They can be.
Yeah.
They can also be. The pianos are very dynamic.
Yes, they have a lot of dynamics to them. I'll give you that. So the reason I have to go early, and this is actually sad, but also like quirky. We have 7 rats. Long story. Don't want to get into why we have 7 rats. Dylan, yes, I know. I'm giving me that face. Uh, my kid has 7 rats. One of them has a massive growth on their face, and I have to go put a rat down today. It's very, very sad, but it's also at the same time, you're like, it's more of a pain in the butt that I have to drive. And the only, because they have a big growth, the only appointment they had was today at 6:30. So I actually have to get in my vehicle. And apparently it's incredibly hard to find somebody a veterinarian that works on rats. Most of them actually don't deal with small animals. So I actually have to go to the one vet in Ottawa that deals with small rats or small animals. So that's why we're packing it up a little bit early today. It felt guilty not telling people why, but I also didn't want to put a big post out there about how I'm putting down an animal, because people are going to usually have negative reactions. Oh, that's sad. It's like, it is a rat and it isn't my animal. It is my child's. So there is still due care that has to happen with that. But yeah, it's been a fun first part of the year, guys. I feel like we're kind of coming to like the end of the year. It feels very weird how there's some.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not used to taking this amount of time off, and I feel like there's some finality and some like we should be drinking right now, Dylan.
Yeah, me too. Shit. I wish in my head. See, we're not done July yet in my head. So like when you're like last stream this summer, I'm like, really? I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of, we're getting there.
Well, I'm leaving on the 28th. That's that's next Friday. So we're jumping we're driving to Montreal next Friday, and we're jumping on a plane. And then I come back, I think the 15th. And then from there, that's going to be my like stay away from work couple weeks where I can just kind of put my feet up. And then the last week I'm going to pump out a video. So I'm going to see how August goes. I'm going to see how, like, there's probably going to come a point at about, this feeling, Dylan, when you're in a creative field, you get about a week into your time off and then you start itching to make something.
Yeah, 100%.
And it could be like August 20th. I'm like, nah, fuck it. We're putting a video out. I want to do this. I want to do this.
Your brain gets used to that productive energy, that flow state, right? And so when you kind of fall out of that and you go stagnant for too long, you're like, I need to make something.
Well, even like when I was a morning show host and I struggled by not liking my job. There was this period after I lost my job where I was like, oh, thank God. And then I'm like, wait a second. I really wish I could talk about that on the radio. That would be a good bit on the radio. And then you start like kind of like missing that aspect of it. So yeah, I have a feeling that's where I'm going to be mid-August. We'll see how it goes. The live streams will call for until September as well, just because it's too much. It literally dregs your Friday. Your Fridays are brutal already, right?
Yeah, Friday's the busiest day of the week. So once these lives are done, it's like my favorite because I just get to be like, fuck everything.
Yeah, I know. There's we've tested this on other days and it just hasn't worked, man. I think we're stuck
for Black Friday. We did that weird one at like 10 a.m.
That was nice, wasn't it?
Kind of fun. And I remember like for us in London, it was our first snowfall of the year was on Black Friday that year. So it was kind of a weird day.
Yeah, it sucks when you work a full-time job though, because you actually have to go do your job on Fridays.
And you got to juggle it with stuff. Eventually that might not be the case, but at least for the foreseeable future, I'm in the corporate game.
Fun. Johnny, my neighbor, took out an old worn upright and turned it into his bar. Absolute amazing and gorgeous looking now. Yeah, some of those old things are just beautiful furniture. The only problem with them is you almost have to, if you don't have an older house, if you have a newer house, you actually have to put supports in on your joists because you're leaving a very large and heavy piece of furniture in one spot for a long period of time. You can actually bend your floor, which ends up causing your piano to warp. So it's actually something that you really got to be careful with and add supports to your joists or add some sort of reinforcement so your floor doesn't sag after a time.
Either that or if, ideally, if you can plan it strategically where your piano is going like right over top of an I-beam,
Oh, absolutely.
or
Well,
something like that.
I'm
And that's my parents kind of lucked out that that's the situation they're in. Is the
nice.
piano's sitting right on top of an I-beam.
Well, and that's something you can actually work towards. Like if you know what the supporting wall is in your house, you can make sure it's right there, and you can actually put support underneath it as well in the
Yep.
basement. So like even if it's just a wall that's going underneath, you can put extra supports underneath it. And if you don't, some of those older ones, man, they can wreck. Our floor in Wakefield was noticeably warped. You'd see like it would pool water. If it like ever got wet, the water would run into this little divot where the piano
I
used to be.
remember in my place here, the guy that was in here before had a Hammond M3 organ right in the entranceway. Sitting just and I mean these places are all like concrete construction for the most
Yeah.
part, you know, and rebar, and it was still like there's a noticeable like wow in the floor like
Wow.
right where right where the organ was, and I'm like, God, and it was probably there for like 10 years.
So it
And
just compressed
like
the
organs
flooring.
aren't organs aren't as heavy as pianos, but they're engines, right?
Yeah.
They're like a car. There's a lot of mechanics inside an authentic Hammond organ, a drawbar organ. And so they don't weigh as much as a piano, but still up in the, you know, 200, 300 plus range.
Yeah. By the way, I was going to ask you. I see a lot of those old organs going on sale, like the old church organs. Are
Yeah.
they worth picking up? Is it worth getting one?
If it was, I mean, if it's just an electric organ, okay, so if it was a reed organ, I would get it. Reed organs are awesome. They sound super cool. They're not electric. I would want one that you pump, not one that's electric, because electric, there's a fan and the fan makes noise.
Yeah.
So reed organs, yeah, reed organs are cool. I've always wanted a reed organ. Or if they're a drawbar organ, like a tone wheel organ, like a Hammond. If it's just an electric organ,
No.
or transistor based, or just a IC based organ, I don't care.
Okay. So if
can
it
get
plugs in,
inside.
no, outside of a Hammond.
Yeah, and generally a Hammond, I mean, you'll know,
Yeah.
usually because there'll be like a start and a run switch on it. That's usually a dead giveaway that it's a drawbar organ, or just, I mean, look at the freaking thing. They haven't made drawbar organs in like
I'm going
3
to
or
start
4
sending you
decades.
pictures of organs when I see them. That sounds really dirty. And you
On the dark web, eh? Oh,
Yeah. Dylan, I found this organ. Should I pick it up?
Yeah, no, send me. I mean, I'd probably be able to tell just by looking at it.
All right. Every
But,
time I
yeah,
see
then
one, I'm like,
say-
shit, should I buy that? Because we had one growing up, and I
You know
loved
what
playing it.
I want a rotary speaker. That's what I want.
A
I
rotary
want a
speaker.
rotary, an authentic rotary speaker, like a Leslie 122. Like I want a damn rotary speaker. Plug my guitar into it, man. Get
Alright.
get a like a really authentic kind of chorusy vibrato-y tone with the damn thing.
I am, by the way, also, your boss plays bagpipes. While I'm in Scotland, I'm going to see if I can find a set of bagpipes to bring home.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I don't know how expensive they are in Scotland, or if I can get something just a used pair, and then I can learn bagpipes. What do you think?
If you find some and you can set, like I will buy a set from you.
You will buy a set from me. Oh,
I would buy a set.
I wouldn't charge you more than I paid
don't
for
know
it.
where the fuck I get to use bagpipes. I'm in an apartment building and I work in an office building.
You work
but
in
I
a you
find
work in a
way.
radio station. If you can't use bagpipes there, you can't use them anywhere.
Oh man, I saw you this video. He my boss technically, although I don't actually report to him, but one of the bosses of our building. I think he had like a Canada Day gig because I don't know if I sent you the video. He was like at work playing the bagpipes like between us and the embassy next door. And he was like right outside my office window, and I was having a bad day too. And suddenly I just hear this wailing. I'm like, the fuck is that? And I go outside. I'm like, oh my God, it's Adam playing the bagpipes.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, I can't not laugh. Like, this is too funny.
All right, so Andrew, see, I have a transfer station. I have a lot more than 7 on tours, hours, and visitors, not to pay the wallabies. Small kangaroos, they're not wallabies. Hint. Pet is a pet. That is true. A pet is a pet. Rotary bagpipes. What? Okay.
Oh my God.
What you want to a rotary wankle, just so you can say it, Dylan. It's an engine.
Rotary wankle.
I have to do that once in a while too. All right, guys. We're gonna call this one. Thank you very much to everybody that showed up for the end of summer stream. I appreciate everybody. We'll see you in September. First weekend in September. Actually, let me just check that really quick while I'm here. Come on.
let me see. You got
Where's the
anything going on?
calendar? So September 4th will be our first live stream back. Maybe we'll try to do something shirtless or something. I don't know. Something fun.
Feeling great.
Right on, guys. Have yourself a great rest of your summer. Be careful on your vacations, whatever you're doing. We need all the viewers we can get. So bye for the rest of August. Bye.
Take her easy.